Welcome to Cross Yoga. My name is Ria, and as you might know, Cross Yoga is Christian yoga for everybody interested in faith and spirituality. Today is a little bit with focus on Easter and celebrating Easter morning when Christians believe that Jesus rose from the dead. I know if you're not a believer in Christ or just curious about all these things, this might sound very odd to you that somebody could rise from the dead. And I get it, but maybe just try to go along with the flow and with the scripture verse, even though you might have your questions about it. This week I shared a video on my Instagram account that shares a little bit about my thoughts about Easter, wellness, and yoga. And maybe there you'll find some more deep thoughts about how I combine and activate my faith and yoga and all of that. But just take a seat and let's begin. As we often do, we start with a little bit of breathing. Simply trying to calm our bodies and maybe our minds a little bit, depending on how busy you are. Simply by breathing and maybe sighing out. My prayer and my hope for this class that we share together is that you'll find liberation, that you'll shake off old worry thoughts and enter into freedom, into victory. Maybe not in full here in this earthly life, but in moments where we can maybe take our eyes off our own situation, of all that might be holding us down, and then look towards God, towards victory over death, sin, shame, stress, illnesses. And as I read a passage, a few verses from the Bible, it's Colossians 2. Maybe you just breathe, being open in your spirit to whatever might speak to you. It might be different than you would think. If you're very much a head person, analyzing text and being rational about things, maybe just open yourself up to what kind of a feeling do you get? Is there a word that just kind of touches you in your emotions? And if you're a very emotional person, very heart person, maybe analyzing a text might be your thing to do. I'll read it from the Message version, which is a paraphrase. So if you want to read it from another version later, you're welcome to do so. Jumping right in the context here. To begin with, the scripture talks about baptism, going under the water, it says. Going under the water was a burial of your old life. Coming out of it was a resurrection. God rises you from the dead as he did Christ. When you were stuck in your old sin-dead life, you were incapable of responding to God. God brought you alive along with Christ. Think of it. All sins forgiven. The slate wiped clean. The old arrest warrant cancelled and nailed to Christ's cross. He stripped all the spiritual tyrants of the universe of their shame authority to the cross and marched them naked through the streets. I read it one more time. Going under the water was a burial of your old life. Coming out of it was resurrection. God raised you from the dead as he did Christ. God brought you alive, right along Christ. Think of it. All sins forgiven. The slate wiped clean. The old arrest warrant cancelled and nailed to Christ's cross. He stripped all the spiritual tyrants in the universe of their shame authority at the cross and marched them naked through the streets. Christ nailed sin, shame to the cross. So what do you need to nail to the cross today, this morning, this afternoon, this evening? Maybe sigh it out. Let go of all that darkness, that shame. There is new life, new beginnings to be won. And as you're seated, take your arms out to the side. Like a cross-shaped seated variation. This was not the final position of Christ. It was the victory. It was a resurrection. So maybe bring your arms up overhead. Reach up as high as you can. And maybe do whatever posture you can to create victory in your body. It might be fists like, yay, we won, right? I might be reaching up, whatever works for you. Inhale victory. Maybe smile. It was given to you and me. Bring your palms in front of your chest. And maybe do some free seated movements. If you want to move your legs, please do so. And then find downward facing dog. So take your hands to the top of the mat. Bring your legs back and do your dynamic or active downward facing dog. So bending one leg at a time. Keep an hip width distance in between the feet. And even wider distance in between your hands. You're going to be moving and breathing and hopefully finding some freedom in our joints and in our bodies as well as in our spirits and minds. And sometimes freedoms comes with a bit of sweat on the mat at least. So sometimes you need to, really get into those different postures and breathe and all that. All right, coming into a plank. Gaze forward, lowering down your hips so you get a low plank. Let your hands stay put. Move your hip back towards your heel for a bit of a stretch. And your arms, your armpits. And then again going into plank on your knees. Lifting your knees off. Downward facing dog. So buttocks up and back. And maybe you will lower your heels a little bit, but make sure your knees are soft and nice. Let's do that one more time. Coming into plank. Down on your knees. Gaze up. Try to relax your wrists as you move back. Again into plank on your knees. Take the knees off, use your core, lift yourself back into downward facing dog. And then walk yourself to the top of the mat. Now you might enjoy having a block by your side for this one. If you know that the floor is pretty far away when you lean forward, it can be nice. I'm just going to place it there in front of my mat for now. But rise up into your mountain pose. Get some distance in between your feet. And do circle arms. You stay put. I'm just going to move for the sake of the video here. So reach your arms up. Maybe you inhale. Maybe you look up. And exhale, get your hands down. You want to do it more dynamically, you can incorporate your knees. So you might bend your knees as you take your hands down. Inhale, reaching up. Exhale, down in your chair. So when you sit in your chair, let your spine move slightly forward without tilting the hip back. Last 2 times. And the next time you're down in your chair, just stay down and go into a forward fold. Now you might bring your block and place it somewhere where your right foot is, as you will be moving your right foot to the back of the mat. Bending the front knee so it's stacked over the ankle. And then we go for a twist. So take the belly button towards the inner thigh and reach up the left arm there. And let's do some circle motions with that shoulder. Bend the elbow as much as you need. See if you can find some free movements into this shoulder joint. Circle. And then you can bring your left fingertips down. Maybe you move the block aside. Gonna pivot or turn the back foot towards your right side and then lift up into warrior 2. So bending the front leg again as it did before, arms out, aligned with the floor. Engage the core. And then you're going to lean forward, staying with the arms here in this, let's call it cross position, and take the front arm maybe on the outside of the thigh. Lifting up again and going towards the back, again on the outside of the back of the leg with that arm. No need to go for big moves here. Then you extend the front leg, triangle, leaning forward, keeping the hip aligned. You stay put, keeping the hip aligned with the rest of the body so the body hip is not moving out, leaning slightly forward. Then you windmill the arm around. We're going to find plank. Step it back, downward facing dog after plank. Now it's completely up to you if you want to stay put for a few breaths or if you find any freedom in moving into your plank. On toes or knees, lower down into a low plank. Going for a cobra, lifting the chest, and then your down dog. Walk your feet to the top of the mat and again fold forward. And let's rise up. Arms up towards the sky. And full forward again. Same procedure, other side. Grab your block if you want it. Place the left foot back and the block aligned with the front right leg or foot there. Reaching right hand up towards the sky. And notice where your back leg is. It might just be sloppy down here. It might be hyperextended. Find some variation where you're active in that thigh. And then do circle motions with that right arm or shoulder joint. Don't force anything. And be mindful of your lower back as well. Last circle. Bring both hands down. Pivot the back foot around. Warrior two. So align the heels, heel to arch, back foot there, and gaze towards the front. Leaning forward again, navel slightly in. Keep the arms almost in the same position as you were in your warrior two before, but just moving the core. Back again. Lifting up, extending the front leg, front hand to the outside, triangle. Just look or have your gaze where it makes the most sense for your neck. Now bend the front leg, hands down, back heel off. Either downward facing dog or go directly into your plank. Lower down, lifting your chest up. And moving into downward facing dog. Let's take a big sigh out. Freedom. Then walk yourself or jump to the front end of the mat. And again, coming into mountain pose with our hands down. Again, you just stay put at the front of your mat. Palms facing forward, soften your knees. And again, bring your arms out to the side, this cross-legged posture. And then without moving your spine, bring your hands or your shoulder blades really firmly back. Feeling the tension behind your shoulder blades. You can bend your elbows slightly, that's fine. And just staying put here for a few breaths. Hopefully, if you really squeeze your shoulder blades, you'll begin to feel your arms, your shoulders get tired, even the deltoids might there at the top. And we might take this into our everyday life. Maybe we feel tied up, tired. But with Jesus' resurrection, we can let go. So take an inhale, and when you sigh out, let your arms drop down by your side. Feeling the release in the shoulders. Inhale, feel how you can breathe. This is the life we were bought, if you can say, or loved into living in freedom, not being bound by shame, by other people's opinions, by thinking that we are in charge of everything. We're not. We're not supposed to be. Let's find freedom in that. God is in charge. So again, bring the arms up overhead. And maybe you take your fingers and kind of wrap them behind your head. So you push the back of your head into your fingers a little bit. And then lean back, open up your chest. Make sure you micro bend the knees. And release. Again, folding forward, taking a little bit more time in each posture. The last small sequence here. Shake your head. Bring the right leg back again to the back end of the mat. Now you can do this variation with the knee down if you want a little bit more easy, or you can do it with the knee up. Again, front leg and ankle, it's called, aligned. I'm gonna go for a twist. So you bring your palms together in front of your chest and twisting, either hovering here or actually getting the right elbow on the outside of the knee joint. Lifting the top shoulder up and away and maybe pushing the elbow slightly into the knee. We're gonna have maybe some fun moving the back leg to meet the front leg in chair pose with a twist. So trying to stay put here. It's a little bit advanced, but you can maybe have some fun. Gaze on the floor, or maybe just take a look at the screen if you don't know it. So you kind of take the back knee off and gather the feet, gather your knees, sit your hip down, and this would be chair pose with a twist. And release, take your hands down so you still keep your knees quite a lot bended. Bring the left leg back this time. And then you're gonna kind of wiggle the right foot out to the side. Maybe you just stay here in some variation, or go for that supported or fallen star, I think it's called, side plank. So other option here. If you have some more activation, lift the back of the leg out to the side. Bring your hands down, take the right leg up and back, three-legged dog. Open your hip, the last posture in our sequence. So you're gonna bend the knee, bring the heel towards the butt, and then take the knee out and up towards the right side. Knuckles down on the floor, fingertips. Breathing a lot. Remember, you are free to adjust and omit any posture you don't feel like doing. Bring the right leg to the front, the left will follow along, and then you go into a forward fold. Shaking out things you need to shake out. I'm doing these postures to find freedom and mobility in our spine, among other things. Bring the left leg back. We're gonna do the sequence on this side. So high lunge or crescent lunge to begin with. Opposite side. Palms together, twisting, this time towards your right side. So either again, hovering, no need to go further down if you don't want to, or all the way down. And release any shame you might feel of not being able to follow along or not being able to do it perfectly. We are free of shame and guilt, right? So let's not be captured by them. Also on the mat, let's practice freedom here. I'm going to do chair with that twist. So left leg, see if you can take a big step and come down. Doesn't need to be pretty. Sink the hip down, top shoulder up, maybe stacked upon the other one. And then fold forward. Maybe you bend your knees, or stretch your knees if that's what you need to do. Whew. And then bend your knees again so that your palms can reach down on the floor if possible. And then bring the right leg back. We're going for that variation of a side plank. So I'm turning the back foot around also, I didn't mention that before, and bring the left foot out to the side. Lift up the hip. Take this arm that you're carrying your body weight on slightly back. Both hands down, back heel off the back foot, so you're saving your knee joints. Then you lift left leg back into your three-legged dog, bending the knee, bringing the knee out and up towards the sky. Maybe remembering your pelvic floor, a little bit of engagement here. Release. Find down dog, both feet on the floor. And then you might choose child's pose. Distance in between your knees, coming down. The other day when I went to church, we were singing specific songs, and I just felt called to bow down like this in the church. So I went at the back of the church and just kneeled down like this with my palms facing up, and maybe just picturing that I was kneeling down. To me, it makes sense to kneel down maybe before the cross or even just before the throne of Christ, depending on what makes sense to you. So with this posture, with my body expressing what I really long to. I long to serve the God of love. I long to learn how to love God, my neighbor, and myself. I long to let go of shame, pride, selfishness. And this I express with my body here. So what do you need to express? Remember, you're always welcome to pause the video and take more time in each of these postures. That's the benefit of doing the things online. You can take your time. If you're ready to move on, bring your block. It can be on the second height. If you don't have a block, just bring your hands to the front as much as you need. Puppy pose, stretching into our arms, our shoulders, latissimus dorsi, and lots of great stuff here. So you're gonna come up on your knees somewhat. Bring your hands forward on the block. Maybe if you're super flexible in your shoulders, you wanna go kick it up a notch on the high one. Drop your head down in between your arms and kind of let the chest, the weight of your head, give you the stretch in your arms. Make sure your wrist is on the block, supported there, so it's not just your fingertips. Releasing. And you might check things out. Pigeon pose. I'm going to show you how to do it, and then if you've got knee issues, I'll show you another variation. Going to start with right leg. So if you're having injuries or just feel any discomfort in this, just wait for a sec. But if you want to do the traditional pigeon, right leg at the front, please point the toes for more movement abilities for your knee. Bring the back leg further back for a deeper stretch, and either stay here or maybe use the block for elbows, maybe coming all the way down, whatever you think it makes sense. You can also put this block underneath the hip that's hovering there. If you've got knee issues, just come down on the mat with me and do this posture instead. Either is a great stretch for the glute max and the back there of the leg. So what kind of change do you tend to get yourself wrapped up in everyday life? What tends to take your freedom away from you? If you're on your back, just switch leg. If you're with me here on the floor, tuck the back toe under, come up on your hands. I always do downward facing dog after the first stretch there. And then a left leg when you're ready. Please don't pull the shin forward, rather just kind of wiggle the back leg further back for deepening the stretch. So again, if it feel good to have some support there for the hip, you can do that. Now, if there's specific things that pops into your mind that might take your freedom, maybe just picturing yourself writing these things down, no long explanations, maybe just one phrase or one word, and then nail that to the cross, the empty cross. Or maybe like Post-its, stick them up there away from you. It's all crucified with Christ. We might still have or feel some consequences of the thing. I feel like it's, when you're served a meal, you can take the meal away, but the smell, so to say, from that meal will maybe still linger in the room, and maybe we still smell the consequences of what we nailed on the cross there. But the meal, the sin, is not there anymore. If you're on your back, you can stay on your back. If you're with me here on the floor, tuck the back toes under and down dog. We're almost there. So bring yourself to the front and then back on your spine, supine here. Make sure you don't get cold. We're gonna rest for just a moment. I'll read the scripture again, and maybe you just say yes. And if there's things in this video that kind of, spoke to you in some way. Maybe things didn't make a lot of sense. I don't know. I'm not judging you. But maybe just have that open mind and spirit saying, okay, I want to live in freedom, in this Easter morning freedom. Let the feet drop out, the hands on the floor. Rest your face, maybe even massaging the face a little bit, just to kind of feel if you can relax your face and find some freedom in those big or small muscles in the face. I'll read the passage one last time, and then there will be just quietness for a few minutes. So stay down on the floor, relax your body. Going under the water was a burial of your old life. Coming out of it was a resurrection. God raised you from the dead, as He did Christ. When you were stuck in your old sin-dead life, you were incapable of responding to God. But God brought you alive, along with Christ. Think of it. All sins forgiven. The slate wiped clean. That old arrest warrant cancelled and nailed to Christ's cross. He stripped all the spiritual tyrants in the universe of their shame, authority at the cross, and marched them naked through the streets. So Jesus, shame the shame. Just stay put on the floor. Now I'll wrap up our time together. Please stay on the floor for just a moment more. I'm going to finish with a prayer. And if you feel like taking your hands and kind of hold onto your chest, just for that, I think touching the heart, symbolically, maybe you do that as a posture of prayer on your floor. God, help us to live in the freedom and the power of Easter morning. I surrender my guilt, my shame, my life, because I want to live in the kingdom of love. I want to live in the balanced life that you can only give. Help me walk my everyday life, stepping on the stones of trust in the resurrected Christ. Give me the courage and patience in this life to do so, as I also look towards the life in heaven that you want for me, where death and illnesses, sickness, depression, all of that is gone for real. Thank you for Easter. Thank you for reaching out to me and to the world. Amen. I hope this video blessed you. That was my intention. From my heart to yours. Thank you so much, and blessed Easter.